Hello there, YouTube. Thanks for stopping by the old Pick Six Podcast YouTube channel. Just subscribe, hit like, turn on alerts. Let us know. You'll know when we go live. I think we were live like 3 times yesterday. Actually, no, I guess we weren't live. But anyway, we recorded 3 podcasts yesterday. So check it out. Make sure to do that. And use the QR code up above Breech's shoulder to vote for Pick Six for the Pick Six Podcast or the Podcast Choice Awards. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is Monday, July the 11th. If you're watching on YouTube, it's actually Friday, July the 8th. That, of course, means, Breech, and it's time for a
Mailbag.
Joining me, of course, John Breech. Ryan Wilson should be back Monday. I mean, actual Monday, or maybe for Tuesday's show. I don't know. He's
Me and Debo were debating whether Wilson actually went to Italy or if he just sat at home in his basement and told us he went to Italy, which is completely plausible.
The latter would be very on brand for Wilson. So
he doesn't like being out in public. He doesn't like dealing with people. Why would he go to airports or another country?
An international air flight with his entire family? That's like his least favorite thing on the planet, right? Although I bet Wilson in Italy is sort of like, he's like, no, like I can see him like popping around and being like, I love this.
With the glass of wine, and he's gonna come back all refined. He's gonna have a monocle. He's like the guy.
There's no I'm bad about this too, so like I'm being a hypocrite when I'm not really criticizing for it, but I'm just saying like there's no way Wilson doesn't go on an international trip and come back with like some sort of like changed bit of his personality. You know, like even he goes to Asheville and he comes back, he's like, I just love like the fall air, man, and like.
Or the next time we talk about pizza, he's like, "You haven't had pizza until you've had it in Rome or down on the coast."
Or I say something like, "Oh yeah, I had like a nice fettuccine last night." He's like, "Let me guess, Olive Garden." Anywho, mailbag time. Let's get to. Oh, actually, I forgot. We have a mailbag question first. Vote for us with the People's Choice Podcast Awards. We have been nominated for the 4th straight year, and you can do that at. I'm actually reading this off the cuff. I'm not even looking at the rundown, but podcastawards.com/app/sign up, and you go there and you select sports on the drop down and then select pick 6 and vote for us. It takes like 60 seconds to do. You can do it if you're watching on YouTube. If you look above Breech's left shoulder, there's a QR code that you can scan. I'm gonna try this and see how fast we can do it because I haven't been meaning to vote anyway. Now, let's see. Get my phone out. Open a podcast awards in Safari. Oh my God, this is so easy. Blah 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 blah. Okay, it's not opening very quickly, but you get the point. Anywho, yeah, do that, or just go to the website and vote for us. And if we win this award, there we go. Sign up to nominate. If we win this award, if we win, not to get to the finals, we're gonna win the whole thing. If we win the whole thing, I will get a tattoo
of Wilson drinking wine in Italy. I just used the QR code. It took me right there. That's all you got to do, people.
When you sign up, it's like biggest podcast influencer. Obviously, right.
I don't use the QR codes as often as I probably should. Now, whenever I see these things on like Burger King commercials, I'm gonna start using them. Why not?
So, I got a newer TV with long story. I got a new TV, and all the apps on the TV. It's like smart TV, obviously. Like there's like HBO Max, Paramount Plus. Which I should have led with, I guess. All these different apps. Every single one of them, when you log in, basically, it has a QR code ready for you to fire up, which is kind of awesome. Sim asks, is that the same tattoo promise that Wilson made? No. If we win the best podcast, if we win the People's Choice Podcast Award of the Sports Podcast of the Year, I'll get a big ass tattoo on my shoulder because I'm gonna get a raise. Like we'll all get raises. I mean, right? Don't you think? Don't you at least think that we'll get a raise?
I'm not sure how that works, Brinson. I'm also not the person you should talk to about that.
If we win the best sports podcast of the year, not that many of these on there. Pick 6. There we go. Done. And now we vote. There we go. That was easy. Took like 5 seconds. And I was podcasting while I did it. It's not even that hard. People's Choice Podcast Award. Yeah, the top overall. If we win the top overall, I will. If we are voted the top overall podcast of the year, I promise you, I will get a tattoo of Ryan Wilson drinking wine on my back.
Or
and when people are like,
Brinson,
what the hell is that? It's a long story. Go listen to the podcast. Go listen to the best podcast of the year.
Knowing Brinson, I feel like he would get a tattoo of him getting a tattoo. That would be a classic Brinson move.
I might do that. I'm very impressed.
Some Inception, some Brinsonception.
Brinsonception. Or and then that podcast is also getting a tattoo of me getting a tattoo or anything, something like that. Okay, you can vote for us for People's Choice category. And Don points out in the chat, I believe you can vote every day. Wow. So vote every day, once a day. Go vote for the podcast. If you love the podcast that much.
Every day. And tell your friends vote every day. And tell their friends. It's that 6 degree thing. If you tell 6 friends and they tell 6 friends, eventually you cover the whole entire world.
That's correct, Reach.
I'm not sure how long it takes. You eventually get there, though.
All right. From the live chat, if you got any questions in the chat, feel free to ask them. We got a bunch of mailbag questions to answer anyway, but we'll get to one from the chat to start off. If all from Dominic the Blind, if all the hosts had to play on an NFL team, what position would they want to be? I would pick backup quarterback, make $3 or $5 million a year to take notes. I mean, yeah, I think at my age, backup quarterback is probably, it's what's his name from Purdue who made all the money? Chase
McDaniel or Chase Daniel?
Yeah, Chase Daniel isn't that much. Or did he go to Missouri? He played in Missouri. Yeah, he's not that much bigger than us. I don't think. I mean, he's bigger, obviously, but he's not that. Let's see how big he is. I'm not saying he's 5'11". I'm just saying he's.
But he's made an insane amount of money.
He's 6 feet even. He's made an insane amount of money as the backup quarterback, as the all-time backup quarterback. I'm pretty sure if you Google Chase Daniel, it's net worth. That's the first thing that pops up. $16 million over the course of his career. Mike Glennon makes good money as a backup quarterback. Andy Dalton. Yes.
I believe that Chase Daniel has made.
It's 40 million.
Yeah, 40 million.
I just said okay.
So $40 million, and he's thrown 267 career passes.
That is outrageous. I don't know who said 16 million. I mean, just as an example, some people who are you sure it's 40?
He has been paid $150,000 per pass thrown in the NFL.
That is wild. This is all players, not quarterbacks. So
$150,000 per pass thrown.
$39 million. Just to put this in context, trying to find a famous quarterback who's made much.
If Tom Brady had also been paid $150,000 per pass thrown, he would have made $1,695,430,711 by this point.
That's kind of amazing. Good job, Breech. There's no super famous quarterback who didn't make more than that, I don't think. Although maybe there's, quarterbacks, he makes so much damn money. Anyway, yeah, backup quarterback is the obvious answer. I think if I had to pick what position would be best for me, just size and size. I guess I'm not fast. I don't know about a running back, but they're not going to be a wide receiver, not going to be a defensive tackle. Maybe a safety.
A backup safety?
I'm just saying, if you had to play on the, you would pick kicker. I don't know why we were doing this. All right. Anything other than the fact that you would be a kicker?
You know what? I think being a long snapper, assuming you know how to long snap, because all the rules favor you. It's not like the teams can take cheap shots at you. You see a lot of these guys have been doing this for over 10 years, and you only have to go on the field for 5 or 6 plays a game. A lot of pressure on those 5 or 6 plays. A lot of pressure. But I think long snapper, if I had to be a starter, that is probably what I'd pick.
Okay, fair enough. All right. I think that's about it. Let's go to the actual podcast. The questions from the mailbag that we had previously ready. All right. At EHBay1030 on Twitter asks, do the Ravens have a legit chance for the Super Bowl this year? Lamar is poised for a huge bounce back, and I don't personally believe the wide receiver situation is as bad as it could be. Mark Andrews is still elite, and the D should be much better. I think the Ravens are by far and away the easiest. So like whenever you do, like what team, 5 teams to take a step back and 5 teams to take a step forward, or five non-playoff teams who make the playoffs this coming year and 5 playoff teams who don't make the playoffs this coming year. Like the Ravens are by far the easiest team to move into the playoffs, right?
Yes.
Maybe you could say the Chargers, but that division is hard.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens won 8 games. They went 8-9 last season, even though they had like 412 people on injured reserve.
Well, the Football Outsiders thing that I always cite is that they had 196 adjusted games lost last year. The high from the previous year, the 49ers, we had 30 more than anyone else in the NFL. In a COVID year, counting games lost by COVID, was 165. And the Ravens had 196. That is outrageous how many injuries they suffered before and during the season.
Yeah, and they just kept piling up. I mean, you mentioned the running back injuries. Lamar Jackson got injured, and the fact that they were on the cusp of the playoffs, and despite all these injuries, I mean, they probably should have made it. You look at just how badly they tumbled down the stretch. I think they were the first team in NFL history to start 6-2 and not make the postseason, something like that. And so they lost their last 6 games, Brinson. And so even with all these injuries, they were still on the cusp of making the postseason. They lost to the Steelers twice by a total of 4 points. They had the crazy loss to the Packers because they decided to go for 2 at the end of the game, which they did multiple times during that losing streak. And they had the 1-point loss to the Rams. And so a 2-point loss to the Browns in that losing streak. So this team they played pretty well considering their circumstances. And I do feel like, I don't know if I would use the word Super Bowl because our guy who asked the question used the word Super Bowl, right? Yeah. I'm not going to use the word Super Bowl because this team has not even made an AFC title game yet. So I do think they have a great shot at getting to the playoffs. I will probably pick them to make to the playoffs. But after that,
Well, but I mean, can they make anybody who gets to the playoffs can make the Super Bowl? Even the Bengals made the Super Bowl last year.
What's that supposed to mean, Brinson?
You know what it's supposed to mean. If the Bengals can make the Super Bowl, the Ravens can make the Super Bowl. Because, if you get in the playoffs, you have a chance to make the Super Bowl. And yes, I understand that there is some thought process that that this offense maybe isn't, perfectly designed for playoff situations. But, Greg Roman and the 49ers offense did it. They got to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. They've been to multiple NFC title games. So, I think it's plausible. And I think, Lamar Jackson is such a great buy low in fantasy this year. I feel like he's getting drafted. I did an underdog draft, best ball. So you draft your team and it locks in there. But I've been doing some underdog drafts and you get Lamar pretty late considering just how much upside he has. I think people are just forgetting what happens if Lamar Jackson goes full Lamar for an entire season. He's an MVP caliber player.
Well, and that's the thing is that, look, after the 2019 season, everybody was taking Lamar in the first, second round. They're taking him early in these fantasy drafts. And now that he's coming off this injury-riddled season where he wasn't great, he just lost Hollywood Brown, people are sleeping on him. There is no reason the Ravens cannot be one of the best teams in the AFC this year.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was looking up his ADP. I just was using Fantasy Pros just because it's the easiest. Lamar is going he's going just ahead of Joe Burrow. He's going behind Breece Hall of the Jets. He's I don't know, it's 49th, right? So you're getting him. What round is that? I'm not good at math today, but he's the 4th quarterback coming off the board, and he's very snug with Kyler Murray, who's just behind him, and Joe Burrow. So I don't know, Justin Herbert's going off a full round before Lamar Jackson. That's crazy to me.
It is.
Herbert's great. I think Herbert will be fantastic, but I would much rather have Lamar around later than Justin Herbert. So that's just my thought process there. All right. So and as for just the wide receivers, it's not as bad as it's being made out to be. And actually, I believe that
it's not.
What?
Rashad Bateman.
Well,
is that it?
we have a question coming up that involves ranking the AFC North wide receivers.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just get to that in a second. But yes, I am very bullish on the Ravens. I think they are an obvious bet. Yes, make playoffs depending on the number you get, and 2-1 to win the division. That's just too, and maybe that number is down now because people are expecting Deshaun to get suspended. But I think the Ravens are a very good bet to win the AFC North at plus money. At Jake1_5 times says, how much will Patrick Mahomes be affected by the loss of Tyreek Hill? Very good question. Do you want to answer, Breech? Because I don't want
to. Andy Reid has been so good at changing his system to take advantage of what he has. He has been able to do that for decades. We can go back to his years with the Eagles. They went to 4 straight NFC title games. In 2004, they had Terrell Owens. It's just, if they have receivers, Reid tells his quarterback what to do. If they don't have them, they do something else. And so I do think this offense is going to be able to adjust without Tyreek Hill. But I do think one thing they lose is just kind of this big clutch, big play element that Tyreek Hill always seemed to come up with. We saw him do it against the Ravens. We saw him do it against the Bills in the divisional playoff game, where he just comes up because he's so much faster than everyone on the field. But as far as being able to just drive the ball up and down the field, they brought in a lot of receivers, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster or Marquez Valdez-Scantling. There's guys to throw the ball to, and Patrick Mahomes is going to find them.
Yeah, I think when you say it out loud, right now in the offseason, it sounds insane. You're like, they'll be fine. They replaced Tyreek Hill with Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But I do think there's a couple things you have to remember about this receiver core. And I would also point out, too, that we have 5 games in Patrick Mahomes' career, and this would be a statmuse.com, a great resource for splits, especially quarterbacks without their wide receiver splits. 5 games, Patrick Mahomes, no Tyreek Hill, 103.1 passer rating, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he averages 347.4 yards per game and 8.8 yards per attempt. Now, of note, in 2017, Patrick Mahomes only played 1 game, right? The final game of the year against Denver.
Right.
He looked good. Tyreek Hill also sat out because Alex Smith was sitting out. That's the only time he had an interception, and it was by far and away his worst game without Tyreek Hill. The other 4, he completed 68.2, 73, 57.1, which is pretty bad, and 56.4% of his passes. But he threw a bunch of yards, high yards per attempt, and no interceptions in those games. So I think there's a little bit of Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams factor here, but it's even accentuated by the fact that you still have Travis Kelce. I know people don't like Mecole Hardman, and that's fine, but the dude is explosive, and he's still a young wide receiver, and Andy Reid will use a high draft pick on him. So I'm not ruling out Mecole Hardman from taking some kind of leap and being like a poor man's Tyreek Hill, which is not an insult at all. And then the other thing too with MVS and Juju, I think what they do, they both have skill sets that emulate what Tyreek Hill did or what Tyreek Hill does without being the whole package, right? So Juju can operate out of the slot and be just a devastating weapon underneath, and MVS can be the over-the-top type of guy. You know what I'm saying? They're not – you can't take the 2 of them and be like, oh, well, we're replacing Tyreek Hill. But you can recreate a lot of the things that Tyreek Hill gave you by putting those 2 guys on the field. Andy Reid didn't sign those guys by accident.
Right. And one of the points I was making earlier with Eagles getting the Super Bowl in 2004, Andy Reid's the coach, Terrell Owens is their leading receiver. They also got the NFC title game in 2003 without Terrell Owens. Do you know who their leading receiver was that year, Brinson? I will give you
Freddie Mitchell.
Wrong. I was going to give you 4,000 guesses. I don't think you would have gotten it. I had to look it up. Debo, do you know who the Eagles' leading wide receiver was in 2003? Debo does not know. Or he's not listening. Either way, he's Googling.
Debo's pretending. No, he's pretending he's checked out because he doesn't know the answer. He doesn't want to be embarrassed.
And he's going to Google it and then chime in with it. Anyway, the answer is Todd Pinkston. The Eagles went to the NFC title game with Todd Pinkston as their leading receiver, and that's an Andy Reid offense.
Debo just chatted us. He's like, is Breech breaking up? He's like, I can't hear him. Did you hear anything Breech said? I can't hear what he's saying about the Eagles leading wide receiver. No, Debo, he's not breaking up.
Brinson hears me loud and clear, Debo. What is happening? But yeah, so
skirting the question.
You're getting the NFC title game with Todd Pinkston. I just believe in Andy Reid. That's more what it comes down to.
Yeah, I've been very adamant that I am not worried about the Chiefs at all. Their offense, anyway. Like, I think they'll be fine and that they're good value. And yes, Frankie String says Juju and Valdez could combine into one human and still couldn't be half of Tyreek. I mean, maybe like 60% Tyreek.
Yeah,
at least
fair.
50, at least 51%. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, more mailbag questions next. You never know if there's going to be a commercial or not. Not always does a commercial. Devo's just checked out. He didn't care anymore. It's unbelievable. Guy gets a promotion, and then like suddenly they won't like actually go through with the promotion, and he's still stuck on his podcast. He's just getting bitter. He just won't even play the commercials. It's unbelievable. Won't answer the trivia questions.
Debo has mailed it in.
Yes,
mailbag fine. I crack myself up.
Debo is a bag of mail at this point. That's all he is.
Oh my god.
All right, are you ready for some more
mailbag
questions? Fun podcast. This is from KKid45210 on. I missed one. No, I didn't. On Apple Podcast. My question: what's the rankings of the pass catching groups, not wide receivers, pass catching groups in the AFC North and rankings in the AFC West? Also, why does it seem like anytime an international team conversation pops up, there are always conversations about a team going to London or somewhere else in the EU, but not any conversations of a team going to your friendly neighbor Neighbour in Canada? We have several sports teams in the different leagues in the USA. It would be a good testing spot for spreading NFL teams outside of the USA. Yet it seems that the possibility of a team coming to Canada is often overlooked. First of all, I appreciate those two questions because they are completely different and very on brand for the type of question that you would or type of discussion that you would get on this podcast. Like, hey, let's do some rankings. And by the way, what's up with Canada? So Canada first, I would say that I think the Bills are the biggest reason because the NFL likes to let the Bills use their leverage to get a new stadium by threatening to go to Canada. And they did go to Canada for a while and play regular season games in Canada. And so the Bills are basically the de facto Canadian team. And I think that's the only reason why.
Well, I think you also have a situation where the NFL is probably trying not to infringe on the CFL. You don't want to go up there and destroy your brethren and take down the Canadian Football League. And, like you said, Brinson, they have.
Yeah, the NFL is always like very concerned with what other sports leagues are doing ratings-wise.
Well, I mean, they're not trying to take out the Canadian Football League. Why? There's no reason. There's never been bad blood between the two leagues. It's not like this is a startup like the USFL or the XFL. This is an established league that's kind of just been doing their thing north of the border that no one in America really follows that closely. And then, you hit the Bills playing in Canada. They played one game a year in Toronto from 2008 to 2013, but attendance kind of died down. The Bills wanted to get out of the contract, so it does feel like it wasn't getting huge crowd support. And I think the other issue is where would you put a team? Because as you mentioned, you're not putting a team in Toronto because that's too close to Buffalo. It's only 2 hours away. And so that's kind of out. If you do Vancouver, another big city that once had an NBA team, that's too close to Seattle. And so you're kind of in a sensitive part there. And then I'm not sure how many other Canadian cities would have the kind of support to fill a 60,000 seat stadium every Sunday. So yeah, I think that it's just a multitude of issues. And you know what? I feel like the NFL likes putting games in across oceans. That's their thing now. Let's go to London. Let's go to Germany, not Canada.
Yeah, actually the location thing is an interesting point. Like Toronto is easy to get to. You're not putting a team in Edmonton and expecting them to crush. Or like Winnipeg. I mean, maybe that's part of the. I mean, maybe it's maybe. I mean, look, the NFL. If the NFL can make money on something, the NFL will make money on it. So I would think that the research probably shows that maybe it's just the payoff isn't there to move a team to Canada. Otherwise, they would be playing a ton of games there. Or it's possible. It's possible. It's possible that the NFL is, as you point out, has focused their international. They're kind of heavy presence in Mexico too, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
Yeah, and a couple comments.
Everybody's asking about Montreal. I mean, yes. Breech and I know about Montreal.
Well, right, and I didn't mention Montreal because that would probably be your third or fourth option. If you're not putting a team in Toronto or Vancouver, I'm not sure why you're going to your.
In Montreal
city.
In Montreal, like still close to the New York teams and Buffalo. Like all the New York teams.
I think it's like 4 hours from if you're driving from Buffalo. So that's not. I don't know how far from. Yeah, it's all.
Like they're not.
They're all up there in the Northeast.
They're not going to put another team. They're not going to cannibalize the other Northeast teams with another team in the Northeast. I wouldn't think. I don't know. We'll research that. It's a good question. Back to the first one. I was thinking about the AFC West, and frankly, Breech, I think that the best pass catching group is the Raiders. I think it's Raiders 1, and then I think I go Chiefs 2 because Kelsey is so elite. Then I actually think it might be the Broncos and then the Chargers.
You're going to put Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last?
It's probably the Chargers and the Broncos. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not counting Austin. We're not counting like running backs, right?
I mean, it just says pass catchers. If you're going to include Kelsey, why can't you include running backs?
Well, I mean, it's a little untraditional, I think. Like if you're including Austin Eckler, then the Chargers are probably 2.
Does Austin Eckler catch passes?
I mean, do you include Clyde?
And he is a pass catcher, Brinson.
No, that's what they mean. They mean tight ends and wide receivers. Don't do this.
No, if it's a running back who extensively catches passes out, if they caught more than 50 passes, I think they qualify. I don't know Austin Eckler's number. No, I just picked that off the top of my head.
But then you disqualify like other running backs who don't catch passes. That's not fair.
Austin Eckler caught 70 passes. He counts as a pass catcher. He caught 70 passes.
Chat, does Austin Eckler count as a pass catcher?
This doesn't say receivers.
Debo, are you paying attention again at all?
Kinda.
Can Debo hear me?
Do you know who?
I really did not hear the trivia question. I would have nailed that thing earlier.
I'm sure. Yeah, sure you would have.
I'm in the office. The Wi-Fi stinks. Whatever.
That's great that the Wi-Fi stinks at a multi-million-dollar gigantic sports media company. It's unbelievable. Can't access gambling sites either. It's so ridiculous. Does Austin Eckler count as a pass catcher in the sense of asking about ranking the pass catchers?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I think no too. I mean, I think
someone who caught 70 passes doesn't count as a pass catcher.
You don't count the running backs when you say pass catchers. Means,
I don't really agree with it. I think it should be considered like breach, but just traditionally, I don't think that is kind of counted when people talk about the term pass catcher.
Debo, it's our criteria on our mailbag. We can make any criteria we want.
No,
I don't care what other people talk about.
It's someone saying, I want you to rank the wide receivers, but I'm saying pass catchers because Kelsey and Darren Waller are involved.
It doesn't say the receivers. It says pass catching groups.
All right, rank them without the running backs.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not
rank
partaking.
Them with the running backs.
You are the worst. Rank them with the running backs then.
I have the Chargers at 3 and the Broncos at 4.
So we have the same rankings.
Well, you could make an argument. I would probably put the Chargers ahead of the Chiefs, to be honest.
Yeah, I would too. If you're including Eckler, I would put Raiders 1, Chargers 2, Chiefs 3, Broncos 4.
Because we don't know how well Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling are going to fit in the Chiefs system. They might be awesome, but we don't know. And
maybe the Chargers are 2 anyway.
I'm putting the Chargers at 2.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, I guess
Austin Eckler as a pass catcher.
If Austin Eckler's involved, the Chargers are definitely 2. And I think you might be right. There might be 2 anyway. And the Raiders are clearly 1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, and
Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly 1. There's somebody else we're missing too.
Josh Jacobs.
You're good. Keelan Cole. Matt Collins.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Waller and Devontae Adams.
Moreau.
Darren Waller and Devontae Adams are a solid just with those two. And then you throw in Hunter Renfrow.
All right, now on the counterpoint, I think that if you include Eckler, I think the Chargers might actually be 1. I mean, it's basically Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler versus Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, and Hunter Renfrow. It's very close.
Yeah, I'm taking the Raiders.
Okay. Sciatic? I can't even pronounce it. My nerve is acting up again. You see me flinching around. AFC North pass catchers. I mean, we don't need to debate it too much. I think the Bengals are very clearly the best at that. I mean, it's not even close.
The Bengals might have
the Bengals will be the best in the AFC West too.
The Bengals might have the best set in the NFL. When you talk about the top 3 and a tight end, or even if you want to include Joe Mixon as a pass catcher.
No, just please stop this. Can we just do it traditionally and just move on?
Austin Eckler caught 70 passes. You're not counting him as a pass catcher? That's insane.
You know what they're asking. Just stop it. Move along.
I cannot believe you're trying to discount someone who got 70 passes.
Okay, kid, I'm sorry that this guy just won't answer the question like a normal human. Football writer won't answer football questions.
The Bengals are number 1 in the division by so far, and then there's a gigantic, monstrous gap the size of the Grand Canyon, and then maybe you get to number 2, or there's even more gap before you get to number 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Who's your number 2?
Yeah, I mean, that one's a little bit tougher. I mean, the Steelers have Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, even if they don't have a quarterback to throw them the ball.
So the Ravens are clearly last, and we'll get to them in just a second. It comes down to, I mean, do you want Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and David Bell, who they just drafted, plus Jakeem Grant
and Njoku?
And Njoku.
I'm probably taking the Steelers at number 2.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are 2 pretty clearly. And then, I mean, I'm taking just like Amari Cooper would obviously be the number 1 on the Ravens.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going Bengals, Steelers, Browns, Ravens.
Yeah. So on the Ravens, let's discuss that because we were asked about the Ravens before the wide receivers. Just like, what do you think about the Ravens? What do you think about the Ravens depth chart? Do you think it is as bad as it seems? I mean,
yes.
I don't think it's as. If we're talking about pass catchers, I mean, Mark Andrews is a 1. Man, would you? Oh, actually, I didn't think we didn't. I might take the Ravens over the Browns
because of Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And then who's your number 2 guy? Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I mean, second-year player.
So,
I mean, Rashad Bateman could have a breakout season. He could be like what they wanted Marquise Brown to be.
I mean, it's possible, but it's also not possible. And then, I mean, their guys are so young. Devin DuVernay is going to his 3rd season. It's just the Ravens are tough to judge, but I'm going to keep them at 4th. But it doesn't matter because all they need is Mark Andrews. That's all Lamar loves to throw to. Loves those tight ends. Get the ball to Mark Andrews.
So I'm going to Baltimore 3 because of Andrews. Like I would rather have Mark Andrews than Amari Cooper. And then I don't think what the Browns have is like I don't know. I mean, David Bell or Donovan Peoples-Jones aren't necessarily better than Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. So you're moving the Ravens up to 3?
Yes, and the Browns are the worst, especially and I think that would be proven even more true if we have the Deshaun Watson suspension. People are like, Browns are gonna stink. All right, next question. 5-star mailbag question from Luke773. Thank you. Assuming Arch Manning lives up to the hype, can you see teams tanking for multiple years to get the first pick? If so, would this potential scandal expedite the lottery draft process similar to NHL, NBA? Love the show. Thanks, guys. What say you, Breech?
Well, just to be clear, if people listen to mailbags regularly, we did get a question a week or 2 ago that said which team would tank for Arch Manning. So this is different in the sense that asking, can we see multiple teams taking multiple years? I think the answer to that is no, because you don't need to tank for multiple years. You literally only need to tank for 1 year, and it's the year that Arch Manning is eligible to be drafted. That's it. That's all you have to tank. So if you find out he's definitely giving the 2026 draft, You don't need to tank in 2024, 2025. You tank in 2026. You only tank 1 year. You get the quarterback, and then you're successful. So
you do it like the Colts did in 2011.
Yeah, exactly.
2012. Yeah. You just break your quarterback's neck, and then you lose a bunch of games, and then you get Andrew Luck, and then you ruin his career.
That is maybe the Colts will end up getting Arch Manning in 2026 then. But yeah, I do think that, and this did ask about, would this expedite our draft process similar to the NHL and NBA? I don't know if it would, but I would love to see a lottery system in the NFL. I think that would add some suspense. I think that teams who don't make the playoffs, if you have a team that went 6-11 and didn't make the playoffs and knew they had a shot at the number 1 overall pick, like if the NFL had that ping pong lottery show and they aired it on national television, you're watching it. Everyone's watching. We're live podcasting.
It would be, we would be doing, yes, we would do a live podcast losing our minds.
It'd be nuts.
Why don't they do that? How are they not doing that?
No, you said earlier they love to make money. Everything's about money. That they would make so much money.
I think it's because they just feel like they don't have to worry about tanking. But you still should do the lottery. Oh, it's weird, yeah.
They're literally facing accusations that one of the owners in the NFL paid a coach to tank. So
I'm just saying that the NFL doesn't worry about it. Like they're like, we don't tank. Like if Steven Ross is found with like bad tank, he's going to be forced to sell the team.
I was going to say if Brian Flores wins this lawsuit, they might start worrying about it. That is the thing that could get the ball rolling on a lottery type system.
Get the ball rolling.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha. Really?
All the puns today. All of the dad puns.
Yeah, I mean, look, like here's the other thing too. Arch Manning will probably be awesome. Yeah, like his uncle, his dad was incredible. His uncle is probably gonna be a Hall of Famer too. And then Cooper Manning suffered an injury when he was young, so he didn't get a chance to. But by all accounts, he's a very good player. The grandfather was an incredible NFL player. But like, it's a long way to go before Arch Manning is tank worthy. You know what I mean? So
he's got to get an NIL with McDonald's, right? Like the Golden Arch, something like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's do it.
All right. At Severn Tobias, there are dozens of us. Dynasty fantasy question. 2 trade offers sent to me. 1, J.K. Dobbins for T. Higgins, a 2023 second-round pick and fourth-round pick, or Dobbins and a 2023 first-round pick for Mahomes and Mac. What's Mac? What Mac is that? There's definitely a better Mac that I'm not thinking of. It's not Khalil Mack, right?
Unless it's a defensive.
It's not Marlon Mack, right? Who's the Mac? Mac Hollins? Is there a very obvious Mac that we're missing here?
This is interesting, to say the least.
Alex Mack?
Is it? I don't know. You need to get a hold of old Severn Tobias and ask him, what are we doing here, man?
Marlon Mack, Khalil Mack. I mean, we're not missing a Mac, right?
I cannot think. I thought Khalil Mack, but I was like, this defensive player. Why are we talking fantasy and defense?
Yeah, Devo jumped into. Yeah, there's no. Okay. Yeah, it's either Marlon Mack or Khalil Mack. I think it's a dynasty, so it probably is Khalil Mack.
But
it could be Mac Jones.
Oh yeah,
it was MACK on the question.
That is true. He spelled it MACK.
C-Mark came with Mac Jones. Yeah, that's why I didn't think of it, because Mac is MAC.
This is why I only join fantasy leagues that are normal. That's it. I have my 12-team league. I do my snake draft, and then I don't deal with trades. I won't trade anyone.
You know what? It probably is Mac Jones.
It's got to be. It's the only one that makes sense here.
Because it's a super flex tight end premium league, which means you can play 2. Oh, MAC is McCorkle. Is it MAC? McCorkle Jones? Matt Corkle Jones. No, McCorkle does not have M-A-C-K in it. It's M-C-C-O-R-K-L-E.
But it does have a K in it.
Right.
Nah.
Yeah, so it's probably Mac Jones since it's a super flex, meaning you can play two quarterbacks at once. So why is so the question, what am I missing? Has Dobbins been declared number one running back for 22 already? So this guy, I think what's happening is
I think what's happening is it's a Debo Burner account asking this question to see how much he could confuse you on the podcast live.
Possible. I mean, or it's a me burner account because I'm really high on J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I think that this is he's being offered Dobbins for Higgins and 2 draft picks, or Dobbins in a first round pick for Patrick Mahomes and Mac Jones. I mean, I think both of these are firm no's because you know what we'll do? One second.
Brinson is counting live on the podcast. That is never a good thing.
No. I'm gonna go over to our pals at dynastyleaguefootball.com who do great work. Not that we don't have Dynasty League analysis at CBSSports.com. We do, but one thing we don't have.
You're just throwing our fantasy guys under the bus here.
One thing that we don't have, Breech, is a Dynasty trade analyzer.
What?
Which they do. So let's plug in Dobbins. And then what we say, so we're going to add Dobbins on one side. There we go. Then we're going to add a future draft pick. We say 2023 round 2 and round 4. So we're going to add a 2023, let's say mid-round 2nd, and a 2023 mid-round 4th. And on the other side, we have T. Higgins. Did I do that wrong with the draft picks? Might have. Hold on. Oh, it was just Dobbins and Higgins for the draft picks. Sorry, let me clear this out. Sorry. Nothing like a live future draft picks, 2023 mid-round 2nd again. Wait, no, this is a terrible trade anyway. T. Higgins is way better. It was worth way more dynasty points than J.K. Dobbins. You're also talking about a 23-year-old wide receiver on a pass-happy team. Like that's great. You don't do that. Like I'd much rather everybody would much rather have T. Higgins than J.K. Dobbins in Dynasty. So you wouldn't give up T. Higgins for J.K. Dobbins. You definitely wouldn't give up 2 picks plus T. Higgins for J.K. Dobbins. I agree with that. And then let's see, Dobbins and a future, say mid-round 1st. That is a lot. For Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. And Mac Jones. I think I can add.
I would listen to a podcast where you just punch in trade scenarios, fantasy trade scenarios live. That should be what we do every Friday instead of mailbags.
Well, the nice thing is you can actually make it a super flex league. Or look, okay, that is no, it's a terrible trade. It's super flex. Patrick Mahomes is worth more than J.K. Dobbins and the first round pick by himself. And Mac Jones is worth more than J.K. Dobbins, according to this calculator. So both trade offers, terrible. You're not missing anything. Don't make those trades.
Brinson
Unless I'm wrong and you're giving up Dobbins for those trades, then you should do those immediately.
Has dropped the gavel. That's what we're doing here.
And if you're Jesse Clark in the chat says it sounds like he's giving up Dobbins. If that's the case, if you're giving up Dobbins in a future first, I'm taking Mahomes and Mac Jones in a super flex league all day because you're starting both guys every week and you're crushing it. So that's my take on that. Any thoughts on the dynasty trades, Breech? I know that's your specialty.
Yeah, my thought is that don't play in dynasty fantasy leagues because then you spend your whole entire life becomes consumed by trying to figure out whether or not you should take trades and who you should draft. I'm telling you, stick with the 12-team snake drafts. That's all I do, Brinson. I don't go out of my wheelhouse. I stay in my lane. No dynasty leagues, no rookie leagues, no kicker leagues, although I'd love to be in a kicker league. That's it. I'm in a 12-team league. We do a snake draft. That's it.
All right.
No
that's
future trades.
You're older than Prisco, sadder than Prisco even.
Prisco doesn't even know what a fantasy football league is, so I've got that over him.
He's actually in our dynasty league.
What? Has he ever finished in the top 3?
He stinks.
And
like every time when he's like out of it, he's like, I will dump everyone. I don't care. I'll ruin this league. I'll destroy it with my trades. He's like everyone, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Prisco's in there like trying to draft Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach, and you guys are like, they're not playing anymore, Prisco. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, he always drafts Jaguars too. It's like, please.
That so he automatically loses. He's basically forfeiting the season by doing that.
Correct. All right, that's the show. That'll do it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Breech, I'm Brinson. Have a great Monday. If you're listening, have a great weekend. If you are watching on YouTube, we will talk to you guys later.